Good night, everyone. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Summer Jill Spiritual. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And we on this last chapter of Ruth. So we had Ruth married Boaz. And that's somehow she lost her husband. They lost everything, left that state, went to another one, didn't know what direction it was gonna go. Naomi, she was married with God, but Ruth, she did have hope. She did have hope. What she could not see, she still was faithful to God, and her mother. She had hope. See, when you got hope and you got faith, it goes a long way. So now Naomi helped Ruth to get Boaz, to secure her future. Brian had to go through procedures, to marry Ruth. A redeemer. A redeemer is a king. That was the Israelite law. When a person husband died, a relatives had to step in and marry that person. So there is a land to sell. So all three of the dead husbands had inherited some land. But they're not here to receive the land. But Naomi and Ruth is a still living wife. To have the land, and they have to buy it from them. So Boaz had went up to the town gate and sat there just as the gardener redeemer that he had mentioned came along. And remember he had told Ruth. He said, I'm gonna find you. He said, I'm kin, but you have to get someone that's more kin, than him. So he said, I will help you find a redeemer, to buy the land to marry you. He said, if I can't find none, then he said he would do it. So Boaz know that he couldn't find his relative, at the town gate. So he was sitting at the gate to find one. His kin was to come through that, but no one could enter or leave the town without traveling through the gate. And now Boaz had waited, but then the city official gathered to translate the business. So he had people to be there, to translate this business that he was trying to do. Have them for witness, the elders and the people in the town, because there was so much activity. It was a good place to find witness, and that's what he was looking. When he found the relative, then he needed witness to be there. So an appropriate place for Boaz to make his transaction. So Boaz had took 10 of the elders of the town and said, sit here, and they did so. He said, sit here. He was just waiting people to come through the gate. And these are procedures he had to go through to marry Ruth. You had to go through the relatives that is next in line to marry her. And if they can't find nobody, then Boaz have the right to marry her. And then he said to the gardener's redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of the land that belongs to our relative, her husband. So Naomi, former husband, still have some property in the area, that was now for sale. So she didn't even know her husband had any kind of land, any kind of property. It's the first right, to buy the land. Boaz said that according to the law, if the relative had bought the property, he also had to marry the widow. And see that's why Boaz he know the rules and regulations. That's why he had to go through this here. Whoever buy the land, have to marry Ruth. So it was a little bonus that was getting. Okay, you spend money on the land, but then you got a bonus. You able to marry Ruth. So Boaz thought he should bring the matter to the attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seats here, in the presence of the elders of the people. See Boaz, he pretending like he trying to get a relative to buy the land, but all the while he really wants to marry Ruth. He wasn't even worrying about the land. He was worrying about marrying Ruth, because he was saying if the person that buy the land have to marry Ruth. So if you will redeem it, do so. But if you would not, tell me so I can will know, for no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line. See, he next in line. If nobody else don't want to buy that land, he next in line, to marry Ruth. See, the important thing for him, Boaz, is to marry Ruth. He not running about the land. Everybody else, they run about the land, but it comes a bonus with the land, Ruth. So he next in line and he will redeem it. He said he will redeem because he's sticking to his promise of what he had told Ruth. So now Boaz have the elders with him for witness, and he have everyone else there in Naomi, trying to see what relative will buy the land, from Naomi. So they have to buy the land from Naomi and also require Ruth. She have, her dead husband inherits the land too. Since she the main widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. Now you have Naomi and Ruth, um, their husband, property that they're trying to sell. So the God and Redeemer said, then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger, my own estate. So now they they're fussing who will redeem it. Because they're not only just buying the land, they will have to marry Ruth. So now they're fussing about who gonna be the redeemer. Or you gonna redeem yourself. I cannot do it. So they're fussing about who gonna redeem it. The person who buy the land, you have to get Ruth too. So now in early times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one part took off his sandals and give it to the other. That's how they celebrate. Just take off the sandal and just start throwing around. So this was the method of late on transaction in Israel. So that's what they come with this law for. It come from Israel. Moses was writing down all kind of law. The God and Redeemer said to Boaz, buy it yourself. So they tell him buy it yourself because they already know Boaz, he wants to marry Ruth. They know he got a thing for Ruth. He trying to get everybody else to buy it, but then they turn around and say, you buy it. So he removed the sandals. Then Boaz, he announced to the elders and all the people, today you are a witness. And that I have brought from Naomi all the property. She already really rich. He brought the property from Naomi, was for her husband and her two sons. So Boaz held the elders for witness, and today that he brought the land. So it had to be a witness that he brought the land, for Naomi and all the property of the two sons. So he also required Ruth, for her husband, a widow as his wife, in order to maintain, the name of the dead with his property so that his name would not be disappeared, from among the family and from his hometown. Today you are a witness. See, you have to have witness, because he didn't want, just like you said, he didn't want his name to disappear, from the hometown. So he bought the land. He also married Ruth in a process, So he required Ruth, her dead husband, the property so that his name will not disappear from among his family, among the family of the hometown as witness. So he had to go through all these procedures, so he really loved their Ruth. So the elders and all the people at the gate said, we are witness. So they was excited, say, we are witness. And may the Lord make the women who is coming into your home, Rachel and Leah, who together, that's Jacob, two wives, who came together to build up the family of Israel. May you have standing and he famous in Bethlehem. So the elders and all the people of the gate are witness. And through the offspring, the Lord give you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Pizah, whom Tamar born to Judah. So now Boaz is trying to get everything, He's trying to get everything to marry Ruth. He's trying to get everything right. Everything had to be legal. He's trying to get everything legal to marry Boaz. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about then they got married. Now we're gonna talk about the son, the same characters. Now Boaz had to buy the property from the army, you know, uh to marry Ruth. So Boaz had took Ruth and she became his wife, and when he made love to her, and this is God doing. Now they got married, and they made love that one time, and she conceived a son. She conceived a son, and she give him birth. She give birth to a son. Boaz and Ruth marry and now have a son. Now see, look how Ruth life had turned around. Her life. Remember I told you at the earlier. Her life turned around. God said, "I'm gonna give you new things." She done lost her husband. And then she cleaned to her mother when the mother didn't even want her to follow. It was meant for Ruth to follow her mother because all the while, like I told y'all earlier, she was part of God's plan. You know, the plan to bless her and to bless Naomi. Ruth did had hope. Naomi had no hope. She was bitter. She was bitter. She was mad. She was mad with God. But God turned everything around. God said, "I'm gonna give you new things." He give you new things. Now Naomi is a grandmother. She even had no more love in her heart besides the love she had for Ruth. So now God gave her something to love again. The little baby. She gonna love that baby. She gonna be holding that baby all day long. Even her friends and her neighbors gonna be praising and shouting. Cause they know how bitter she was when she came back home. And they gonna be so full of joy. For she gonna be holding the baby more than Ruth. So they said she gonna have the baby on her lap. So Boaz had said to Ruth, he married Ruth, and then he had a son. So the women in the town, they praised Naomi. Be to the Lord, this day had not left you without a garden's redeemer. Instead of them praising Ruth, who had the baby, they was praising Naomi because they know how broken she was. They know how bitter she was. She was just so sad that she left with a full household and came back empty-handed. And she was broken. She said she was married with God. So now the neighbors, everybody in the town, still don't praising Ruth, they're praising Naomi. They say, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Because they praise God because God gives this joy back into Naomi. Didn't know how broken she was. She was so sad. She didn't have nothing really. If she had Ruth there to kind of comfort her, no telling what would have happened. She had Ruth to comfort her and be there for her. So the women of the time that praised Naomi, be to the Lord that this day had not left you without a golden redeemer. Now remember, Naomi came home, she was bitter, she was broken, she didn't have no hope, but they praised her instead of praising Ruth. Naomi had, Ruth had hope, but Naomi didn't have no hope. And it said this baby will renew your life and sustain you. Who love you and who is better to you than 7 sons. Had given him birth. So now because remember when her sons had died, she said that was her helper for when she get old. So now God replaced that with this baby. This baby gonna grow up and gonna protect his grandmother. He gonna love and help his grandmother. So she was better. Better. This baby gonna be better than 7 sons. So then Naomi had took the child in her arms, took the baby already. That's what grandma do. Took the baby, put in her arms. She cared for the baby, and the women living there said Naomi has a son. And they named their son Obed. He was the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David. You know, so so God had brought great blessing, out of Naomi. Remember, I told you there was the whole plan of God. God had brought great blessing out of Naomi. Really, it was for Naomi, but God had to bless Ruth, to carry it on to Naomi. Naomi tries to, an abundance of air. Throughout her tough times, Naomi continued to trust God. After she got over her madness and stuff like that, she had praised. She started praising and trusting God again. And then this blessing, her greatness, even in our sorrow, God can bring great blessing. A lot of time, God can bless you in a storm. He could bless you in a storm. He could bless you in your sorrow. So Ruth was part of God's preparation for the birth of David. Cause God, no, cause in God write plans, He write plans for just like when He wrote the plan for Abraham. He already had Jacob in mind. He already had Joseph in mind. And these people way had other people before them and stuff like that. But that's how God write. Just like they said here. They said it was the birth of David and Jesus. This is the bloodline. So that's why God put all this together for Ruth. This is history right here. You got important people that's in this bloodline. You got David, you got Jesus. You also gonna have Joseph. Jesus' earthly father. He in the bloodline somewhere. I got to find the material on that. I think he is in the bloodline of Abraham. And Abraham in cause Abraham is in the bloodline of Noah children. When God told them to multiply, his children, one of his sons had Abraham. In some kind of way, Jesus' earthly father is mixing that bloodline. So you got some important people, coming out this bloodline. All because of Ruth was faithful, because Ruth had hope. So long as you got a little hope and you got some faith, you can keep on holding on and press your way through. That Ruth, she couldn't see what was going on. She couldn't see nothing. But she, soon as she got there, she went in the field and started working, not knowing she was gonna meet a Boaz in that field. You know, they have to have many Boaz, but she went in that field soon as she got there and started working, not only for her, but her and her mother, not knowing she was gonna meet a Boaz in that field. A rich man in that field that was going to turn her life around. And then she had a mother, oh, let me help you. Let me give you some instruction how you going to do this. And the mother-in-law had her to catch that man respectfully. She did not tell Ruth to go sleep with him. She told him to go at his foot. Now, he sleep up here, she was down here. And it worked. That's how the law was in the Israelite time. That's how they did it. So God brought great blessing out of Naomi's tragedy. Abundance of air. Throughout her tough time, Naomi continued to trust God, and this blessed her greatly. And even in our sorrow, God can bring great blessing. So Ruth was part of God's preparation for the birth of David and Jesus. And they in Bethlehem. That's what Jesus was born at, in David. So the promise of the Messiah. So Ruth was unaware. She was unaware. She was clueless. She didn't know who Boaz was. She did came home and told her mother some man was just being kindness, being nice to me. She said, well, who? What is his name? Boaz, she said. And so that's what Norman said. I'm about to show you how you gonna secure your future forever. And Naomi did that. Help her. She said, I'm about to secure your future forever. You're going to be provided for forever. And so Naomi put all that together. And see, if Ruth would have ignored her mother-in-law and not followed through, she would still be without a husband, without money, still working in that field, But she followed her mother because she knew her mother would not stray her wrong. So she did everything her mother told her to do. Not knowing there was a Boaz was gonna marry her, that was gonna be a rich man. She did not know. So Ruth was unaware of this large purpose, in her life. Ruth faithfulness, obedience, to her life and a legacy that was significant even though she could not see it all result, but she was faithful to God and she followed through. She did not know she had a purpose on her life. She did not know God had a plan for her life. All she know that she want to cling to Naomi. She said, your God gonna be my God. Wherever you go, I'm gonna go. Wherever you die, I'm gonna die. And she loved her mother. She didn't know she had a purpose on her life. All she had was a little hope. She wanted another husband for Naomi. Naomi said, I'm not having no more kids. So that's why God had the plan for Ruth instead of Naomi. But God was gonna bless Ruth through Naomi. Through Ruth for Naomi. And Ruth was unaware of anything. She didn't know who Boaz was, or she know was somebody being nice to me. Somebody just being nice. Not knowing he was a rich man. Not knowing he was kin to Naomi. She was just unaware of God preparation for her. So her life and a legacy that was significant, even though she could not see all the results, but she was still faithful. So Brian, had to go through procedures by buying a property, from three they people that was kin to him. He had to buy the land from her husband and her two sons. So Boaz had wife. He married Ruth, and they had a son. Boaz is the father of Obed. Obed is the father of Jesse. Jesse is the father of David, and David is the father of Solomon. And this is the bloodline, and Jesus is the bloodline of this bloodline here also. And Joseph, his earthly father, Joseph. I got to do more research on that and give more information on that. Now, this is the story of Ruth. We did 4 chapters, of Ruth. They lost everything. The mother was bitter, but Ruth, she had a little hope. She had a little hope, and she just wanted to cling to her mother. She said, wherever you go, I'ma go. Wherever your God is my God. So she, I know if she would've ignored her mother, her life won't be what it is now. Why she followed, she respect her mother. God had turned her whole life around. Turned her whole life around. Whatever she had then, she had more, and her cup is overflowing. So we talk about Boaz. He had to go through the procedures, to marry Ruth. And then we talk about part 2 that he did marry Ruth, and then he made love to her that one time and got pregnant, had a son of Obed. And I just read the bloodline from Obed to David. And the important thing was God had this plan for Ruth because God had a plan for David to come into the picture. So a lot of time God had people come in the picture, and he has so many people before him, and that's how God writes. The purpose was to get David into the picture, Jesus into the picture, and it came to Ruth and Boaz. So they got important people came through their bloodline. So good thing she did not ignore her mother, and she followed through, and the whole life turned around. She had become to be history. When you got David and you got Jesus, the bloodline that came from you and Boaz, you made history. So that's all the story I have for you on Ruth. And the next story, we still doing Bible study. We all learning all the details through this Bible. So the next story we're gonna come from First Samuel. So that's what we're gonna talk about next, First Samuel. So that's all I have for you tonight. And I see y'all on the next video.